The liver is the hardest working organ nobody thinks. It runs over 500 jobs a day: detox, blood sugar control, fat management, without making a sound. When it gets overwhelmed, it doesn't complain. It just quietly starts hoarding fat like a stressed office worker. Fatty liver used to be blamed on alcohol, but now even people who barely drink are getting it, thanks to modern diets, bad nutrition advice, and chronic metabolic overload. The real problem isn't fat, it's overload. Fatty liver disease is not caused simply by eating fat. It is caused when the liver is forced to process more fuel and more toxins than it can handle. The liver is uniquely responsible for processing certain substances that no other organ can manage efficiently. When these inputs accumulate faster than the liver can clear them, fat storage becomes the liver's coping mechanism. Alcohol is the most well-known offender. The liver must process every drop of alcohol consumed, and excessive intake predictably leads to fat accumulation and inflammation. But alcohol is only part of the story. The second major burden is fructose, a form of sugar that is metabolized almost entirely by the liver. Unlike glucose, which can be used by nearly every cell in the body, fructose has nowhere else to go. Table sugar is roughly 50% fructose, meaning that high sugar consumption can overwhelm the liver even in people who never drink alcohol. The third burden comes from toxins, chemical additives, environmental pollutants, and oxidized fats. Detoxification is a liver-exclusive task. When the liver is already occupied processing alcohol and fructose, toxin clearance slows, allowing damage to accumulate. Finally, chronically elevated insulin worsens the problem. Insulin does not initiate fatty liver disease on its own, but once fat accumulates in the liver, high insulin levels prevent fat breakdown and lock the organ into a dysfunctional state. Why cutting salt and red meat misses the point? Many dietary recommendations for liver health focus on sodium restriction and avoiding red meat. These suggestions sound reasonable, but fail under closer examination. Sodium only causes harmful water retention in people who cannot regulate it properly, such as those with kidney failure or certain hormonal disorders. For metabolically healthy individuals, sodium intake has no meaningful connection to liver fat accumulation. Red meat is often blamed because it contains saturated fat. However, saturated fat stored in the liver does not primarily come from dietary saturated fat. It comes from excess energy intake combined with elevated insulin. In other words, saturated fat in the liver is a byproduct of metabolic dysfunction, not its cause. This misunderstanding stems from the false belief that the body simply stores whatever fat it eats. In reality, the body transforms excess fuel, especially sugar and refined carbohydrates, into stored fat through biochemical processes. The liver becomes fatty not because of steak, but because it is flooded with energy it cannot immediately use. The hidden danger of sugar, even natural sugar. Added sugar is widely recognized as harmful, and most people now understand that excessive intake can damage metabolic health. What remains misunderstood, however, is the belief that natural sugar from fruit is fundamentally different or protective. From the liver's point of view, this distinction does not exist. Fructose, the type of sugar found in fruit, honey, and table sugar, must be processed almost entirely by the liver, regardless of its source. Whether fructose comes from a soda or a smoothie, the liver handles it the same way. The difference is not chemical, but quantitative. Small amounts of fruit, particularly low-sugar fruits like berries, are usually well tolerated because they deliver modest fructose loads along with fiber and micronutrients. Problems arise when fruit consumption becomes excessive or highly concentrated. Regular intake of large portions of bananas, mangoes, pineapple, grapes, or fruit juices can deliver fructose levels comparable to processed sugar. Fruit juice is especially problematic because it removes fiber, allowing fructose to flood the liver rapidly. Over time, this constant fructose exposure overwhelms the liver's processing capacity, forcing it to convert excess sugar into fat. From a biological standpoint, fructose accumulation, no matter how natural its source, contributes directly to liver fat buildup, insulin resistance, and metabolic stress. The liver does not measure intentions. It responds only to biochemical load. Starches and whole grains. Starches are long chains of glucose molecules. Once consumed, they break down rapidly into blood sugar, triggering insulin release. In metabolically healthy individuals with good insulin sensitivity, moderate starch intake may be tolerated without immediate harm. However, when fatty liver disease or insulin resistance is already present, starches become part of the problem rather than a neutral energy source. Elevated insulin levels prevent the liver from burning stored fat, locking it into a cycle of accumulation and dysfunction. Whole grains are often promoted as a healthy alternative to refined grains, but this improvement is frequently overstated. While whole grains contain slightly more fiber and micronutrients, they remain overwhelmingly glucose by weight. Their impact on blood sugar and insulin is only marginally better than white flour or white rice. From a metabolic perspective, they still drive insulin spikes that perpetuate liver fat storage. In addition, grains are among the most common dietary sensitivities worldwide. Wheat, gluten, oats, and even rice can provoke inflammatory responses in susceptible individuals, further increasing liver stress and systemic inflammation. Whole grains may be acceptable in limited quantities for people who are metabolically healthy and insulin sensitive. However, they do not actively reverse fatty liver disease. Treating whole grains as a therapeutic food for liver recovery creates false confidence and delays meaningful improvement. They are better described as less harmful rather than truly healing. Fried foods and the oil problem. Fried foods are not harmful because they are high in calories or fat. They are harmful because of the oils used to cook them. Most commercial fried foods are prepared using industrial vegetable oils, polyunsaturated fats that are highly unstable when heated. To make them usable, these oils undergo aggressive processing that oxidizes and degrades their structure. The result is an inflammatory toxic substance that places enormous stress on the liver. Frying food occasionally in stable fats like butter, lard, or coconut oil does not pose the same risk. The issue is not frying itself, it is the chemical nature of modern cooking oils. The superfood illusion. The idea of superfoods is appealing because it promises an easy solution: eat the right thing and undo years of damage. Unfortunately, biology does not work that way. No food can compensate for ongoing exposure to harmful inputs. Adding antioxidants or nutrients without removing the underlying causes of liver stress is like pouring vitamins into a polluted lake while continuing to dump toxins upstream. Health improves not by adding magical foods, but by removing what interferes with normal function and supplying what the body genuinely needs. Liver healing follows the same principle. Fats. Separating helpful from harmful. Not all fats behave the same way. Monounsaturated fats, such as those found in extra virgin olive oil and animal foods, are stable and beneficial when minimally processed. They serve as reliable energy sources and do not provoke inflammation. Polyunsaturated fats, however, are highly unstable. When consumed in large quantities, especially from industrial seed oils, they become inflammatory and damaging. While certain polyunsaturated fats are essential, they are needed only in small amounts for specific biological functions. Omega-3 fatty acids deserve special mention. These fats play a critical role in reducing inflammation and supporting metabolic health. The most effective forms, EPA and DHA, are found in fatty fish and high-quality eggs. Plant sources like flaxseed contain a precursor that many people cannot efficiently convert, particularly if they are already metabolically compromised. Foods that truly support liver recovery. Certain foods consistently support liver function, not because they are superfoods, but because they reduce metabolic stress and supply critical nutrients. Cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, and bok choy contain compounds that assist the liver's detoxification pathways. These foods can be consumed generously by most people, provided they are well tolerated. Meat, particularly red meat, is one of the most nutrient-dense foods available. It provides complete protein, stable fats, and essential amino acids used to produce glutathione, the body's most powerful antioxidant. For many people, meat is also one of the least allergenic foods, making it metabolically efficient. Eggs stand out as one of the most supportive foods for liver health. They contain choline, a nutrient essential for transporting fat out of the liver. Eggs also supply B vitamins that help convert harmful metabolic byproducts into useful compounds and support antioxidant production. High-quality eggs additionally provide natural sources of omega-3 fats. Most people don't damage their liver with junk food. They damage it with foods they were told were healthy. If this video made you rethink sugar, grains, and superfoods, then you're already ahead of the curve. The body doesn't care about labels. It cares about load. If you want to be smarter every day, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next deep dive.